I'm Mary Anglade of Builder Lead Marketing. I have our SEO expert and partner here, Thomas Lee. And we want to welcome you first to our webinar, SEO for home builders and modular manufacturers. I'm going to get started by sharing our screen, and then we'll continue with introductions and the rest of the presentation. Okay, so first of all, just for our agenda, this is going to be a little bit different than our typical webinar in that we are doing more of a Q&A format, which is why I invited Tom. We will introduce ourselves. We're going to talk briefly because it's always so important to remember who your target is and what they're going through in their home buying journey, which plays directly into finding you online. SEO, we're going to start from the beginning. What is it? Why is it important to you? And then we will dig into our top 10 questions with Tom, and then we'll wrap it up. We are going to just run through this because we know a lot of you are very busy, so we want to make sure we make it through the whole presentation. If we have some time at the end, we can stay on, but we'll also be giving you some information that you can reach out to us if you have additional questions. Housekeeping, we are recording the webinar. We will send it to you. We will also have it up on YouTube so you can easily access it. Again, I mentioned this already, and you can put your questions in the chat at that time. We are holding monthly webinars reviewing the accelerated growth model. If you've managed to attend our last few, we are going to do one on PPC next month. And please connect with us so you can stay up to date. We, as I mentioned, have YouTube, and I'll give you a way to connect in a couple of slides. Please share. As I mentioned, we are going to get into Google Ads and how that is so important for home builders and modular companies. So that will be next month. We will be sharing a date and details in the coming weeks. First of all, who am I? I have over 25 years of experience. I have owned my own agency since 2012. Builder Lead Marketing is actually a newer brand for us. Our legacy agency is SparkGen Marketing. Tom and I, by the way, have partnered for the last 10 years. So we have worked on many different clients, home builders and modular companies, as well as other industries. I am an associate, or my company is an associate member of the Home Builders Association and the Modular Home Builders Association, which is likely how you may have found out about this webinar. And we have a lot of experience working with home builders. We really love it. We think it's just so important because home is so important to people. And, there's a lot going on in the United States where, affordable housing, sustainable building, and all of that. We like to stay current on and really help companies grow and help people have homes to live in. My early career was actually in finance. I used to be a lender in the garment center in New York City. So I have a very analytic approach to marketing, and I think it's something that permeates the entire company, and it lends itself very well to digital marketing because a lot of it is numbers and looking at trends. And I think it helps us stand out. So that's why I mention it. And Tom, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Tom Lee. I've been running my agency for 24 years now. We're one of the first SEO companies in the United States. We focus and specialize on digital marketing as well, which is mainly search engine what is SEO? Search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising. We have lots and lots of experience in the trends as things have changed over the years. So what we're doing now in this day and age is completely different than what we did 10 years ago. My company is focused on building white hat ethical movements for search engine optimization that will allow your company to thrive bringing long-term keyword placement on major search engines like Google, Bing, and Yahoo. So for the most part, we focus on many areas, including keyword research, on-page content, as well as tagging structures, images, and many other areas. There are other opportunities for off-page SEO, but for now, we're going to talk about a lot of the basics today. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us at the end of the webinar. It would be great to hear from everybody.
Great. All right. So as I mentioned, this isn't a sales call, but really quickly, we offer three primary digital programs, foundations for smaller builders and companies, which is usually a website refresh or potentially building a brand new website, and then picking a way to drive traffic to it, which is usually pay per click, or SEO, or potentially social media, right up to enterprise, which are custom programs where we really, do everything, including potentially some print, even though we're largely a digital agency. And as I mentioned, Tom has been a great partner. We have seen many, many companies succeed and grow through digital marketing. And I think the partnership has really worked because we both are committed to transparency and, an ethical approach where our clients know what's going on, they can reach us, and we share the results with them. And we will get very detailed if they would like that level of detail. Not everybody does. And as I mentioned, we also do social media. You can connect through this QR code if you like, and we have a free ebook that a lot of people like to do things themselves, so we put that together to educate and also potentially to let somebody try to implement on their own, because sometimes that's where you need to start. So again, we love to connect with everybody, regardless. We don't have to necessarily do business together. We always welcome a larger network. So if you've been on these webinars before, we use something called the accelerated growth model. Our first webinar was about putting it all together for a 2025 marketing plan. We also looked at optimizing your website in February. And by the way, all of these are on our YouTube channel for Builder Lead Marketing, and that's a free way to access it. This month we're doing SEO, which we'll get into what that is and why it's important. Next month we will be tackling Google Ads. So that's PPC is usually the short term for that. But usually we look at marketing as very much integrated and very financially oriented, because obviously you're trying to build your awareness, get leads, turn those leads into sales. And we understand that. So as I mentioned, today is focusing on that orange box. So really getting people to your website. So I want to just briefly go through these slides. If you attended one of the previous webinars, I have tackled these slides before, but I think it's always worth revisiting, because if you forget who your target customer is, then all the wonderful digital techniques in the world are not going to help you. So we always start with who is the target prospect. For many of you, it might even be other builders. If you're a manufacturer, if you're a builder, are you dealing with real estate agents? Are you dealing with investors? Who are you dealing with for your end consumer? How old are they? What do they look like? Are they wealthy? Are they looking more at an affordable option? So right now, please think about who that person is, because that really has to drive everything else. Also, I think it bears repeating that home buying is a very emotional decision because it costs so much money. And even in today, of course, but through the years, it's always been probably the largest financial decision. And really, in today's day and age, you need to present yourself properly online. And I'll get into that in a second. But you're not selling toothpaste, you're not selling cheap t-shirts. This is something somebody's going to put a lot of thought into, and how you share information and present yourself matters. So, how do they find out about you? Probably not through the yellow pages. If, depending on how old you are, you may remember this big book. Years ago, in fact, in 1981, the most important rated information source in the home was newspaper ads. In 2020, 97% of home buyers use the internet. Most people, certainly in, offices, are using the internet 7 hours a day. This comes right from Forbes. You can look up this article if you want to read the whole thing. I point this out because I think a lot of professionals in the home building industry are not online as much because they are maybe, on a factory floor or on a job site. And maybe they even went into that profession because that's the kind of work they like to do. But the people you're selling to are probably online, and they're online 7 hours a day on average. So again, just briefly, some couple of frameworks put in your mind. How are people finding out about you? So you're trying to build awareness, and then how are they becoming a lead, and how are they collecting information? Then maybe you're nurturing them where they're becoming actual prospects, and then a small number become customers. Today, we're actually going to be looking at what they call inbound marketing, because the way people in today's day and age make a purchase is usually they start online. So forget about buying a home, but let's say you're buying a car. You're probably going to start doing some Google searches or visiting some dealerships online, looking at what are the models, maybe reading customer reviews, reading articles. So you're a stranger at that point, but then you start to make some decisions and you think, okay, I really want that Toyota. You start visiting websites. Then you perhaps, you fill out a form on a website, you become a lead, you say, I'm coming in on Saturday. And then depending on maybe what happens, you become potentially you buy a car, you become a customer, and then hopefully you become a brand evangelist and you promote. So please think about that, because how does somebody even find you online? That's going to be important. And again, just thinking about who this prospect is, let's try to put some, a face and who somebody is. So, we've created this avatar, the Smiths. They're in their 40s. They're looking at buying a new home, but they're not happy with the existing inventory. They're thinking about building, but that sounds kind of complicated. They never really heard about modular. They decide to start looking online, as most prospects do. And the real question is, how do you show up while they're searching online? So how do they find you? How are you consistently converting? So we kind of went through that in the last webinar last month. How do you have a full schedule, a profitable business? And you look like this sailboat. You know where you're going. You have the momentum. You have the growth. And you have success, right? You're building homes, you're generating revenues and profits. Ultimately, marketing's great, but it also needs to translate into dollars. So this is all to set the stage for this discussion on SEO, where we're going to get into more of a Q&A. But before we do, please think about why being found online is important to you. Like, why does that matter? Because if it doesn't matter, you probably don't need to stay for the rest of the webinar. But if it is important, and I would say too, just remember, look at, maybe even now, take a moment, Google in your area, builders or modular, put in your town or your county or city, and then also look at who else comes up, because your competitors are probably out there. Okay, so now, without further ado, top 10 SEO questions. Now, Tom has been battling a cold. So, and I've been doing a lot of talking, but I am going to ask him to chime in a little more. But we're going to start with the most basic, which is what is SEO? So, SEO is the process of improving your website's visibility in search engine results pages or SERPs. You may have heard that term. The goal is to understand a website's offerings so the site will rank higher in the search results. Tom, would you add anything?
Yes, I mean, the way people search has changed so much over time. And everybody knows about the new maps listings that have been showing up. So there's a lot of different areas to focus on when it comes to SEO. But one of the most important things to know about SEO is it's not biased. When people are searching for things specifically, you're going to find that many people are not looking for a broad term. They're looking for a tail phrase, one of those low-hanging fruits that you're looking for, like um, modular homes near me. That is more of a long tail phrase. And those are the types of terms that actually create the leads for you. The word home is not going to be that. So we want to always focus on what is most important for the site and the content on the site. And that's going to determine how the search engine reads and understands what you are offering to the end user. Because remember, the person who is searching for you is Google's customer. So if they're not giving them the right answer, they're going to move on to another search engine. So it's very important that you have the proper terminology in place in order to move your site forward to higher rankings, higher traffic, and conversion.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we have an example here where we put in New Home Builders Connecticut, and I want to just point out because I think that it can be confusing. Sometimes we get clients saying, "Well, why is Solomon Contracting showing up there?" Well, those top results where it says sponsored are actually paid. Those are not search engine optimization. Okay, that's not SEO. The organic results show up below. So Sunwood Development actually has a first placement organically. So you can do this, if you want to put this in and put in your state or your county or your town, you'll see, you can immediately see who is paying for traffic. So that's next month's webinar. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I did want to show you a real world example. Okay, so how does SEO differ from other online traffic sources? So, Tom, do you want to touch on these points?
Yeah, most what you're going to find with SEO is that most of the traffic that you actually drive into your website from SEO efforts, you're going to find that they're more targeted for what you're selling or what you're offering to the end user. And one of the things I was able to find that out easily with is just looking at the sessions and the time on site that people spend when they are actually searching for you organically. Whereas sometimes in the paid realm of things, it's a much shorter time, a much shorter experience. So SEO is probably one of the most valuable ways to drive people to the conversion level for yourself. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, like if somebody is really searching, they're in a different mindset. They're looking for information versus, let's say you're, looking at your social media feed, and this isn't to say social media doesn't have a place, it does, but maybe you see an ad come across and you weren't really thinking about that, but you respond. I think that's a little different than when you've sat down to actually do some research and do some searching. So this idea of searching for answers versus responding to an ad, and I think I can't think of a time in my many years of doing this, and Tom, I think it's probably the case with you, where SEO is usually the best traffic. And when we say best, we mean, like Tom said, like longer time on site, greater engagement rate. People are probably consuming more pages. So really, really good quality traffic. Just another note, like we always say it's a longer term play. It usually takes, and Tom, please correct me if I'm wrong, but at least
I
probably
think
six
I think
months.
that long, look,
Go
yes.
ahead.
I think that SEO is one of the most important areas to focus on a regular basis because remember, as people go forward, when your keywords start rising to the top, um, those types of people are going to spend more time on your website. And the great thing about SEO is the paid ads up top. If you're not paying for them or they're not being paid for, well, guess what? Your organic ranking is still not going to move, regardless of what happened to the people on top of you. So it's really, really important and it takes time to build. So building a presence for SEO, there's a lot of areas that are focused on within any page. And one of the great things that we can do with SEO is we can focus on your type of product. So if you have a modular home company, we can go for and you sell a duplex modular home, we can do that for you. If you sell modular log cabins, we can focus on those terms. We can focus on the actual styles of the home. Those are things people are searching for. It takes time to build them, but as time goes by, more and more of those terms will float into the top placements, and you will obviously get more traffic that way.
Yeah, no, it's great. And sometimes we even see where, you could write a blog post and we'll get into blogging in a few slides, but that will be the gift that keeps on giving because if it's something somebody's really searching on, you'll get traffic, great quality traffic from that, for potentially months, maybe even years to come. So again, all of these digital tactics have a place. So, but SEO is a commitment, and we like to say it's a marathon versus a sprint. All right. So, what are keywords, Tom?
Well, they are keywords are words or phrases that people type into search engines to find information on your products. Optimizing your website for, the relevant terms is one of the most important things. And like I said, it's changed a lot. So on-page SEO is important. So your homepage is going to always be your most popular page, and it's going to carry the most popular key terms. However, a lot of the tail phrases that I had discussed a little bit earlier are going to be your internal pages, your service pages, your product types, those types of things where people are looking for different brands, different styles, those types of things. And when you start showing yourself for those areas, those are going to be the ones that are the most important. So your website is really a store. You have to look at every page as its own, its own entity. And each one of those pages are going to grab for different keywords. And if you really think about keywords, think about the lottery. Balls are numbers 0 through 9. So how many combinations can you make? Millions and millions. Well, it's the same thing with keywords. Um, you know, homes near me, modular homes near me, colonial modular homes. And I'm using this term because a lot of your home builders, and these are some of the things I've seen work really well for these types of companies. But especially in the building industry, there's going to be a lot of areas that really cover your specific types within the website. And those are going to be the terms that we're going to focus on through keyword research. And we get all that data, we can pull that data through many, many tools, including Google Search Console. And we can also use the keyword tool, the keyword planner that they have in the pay-per-click advertising, which I can put one keyword in and it'll spit back 1,000 different keywords that relate to that one keyword. So it's
Hold
really,
that
really
thought because we're going to get in, we're going to show them a
okay.
screenshot of what that looks like.
Okay.
Okay, so now we jumped ahead a little bit, but what is
Sorry about that.
keyword research? And you kind of covered this, but if you want to just touch on it again, and then I will just share, we do have some links that we can share with everybody and even a screenshot of what the planner looks like.
So whenever we're looking at a website, we are going to break it down into different areas. It's going to be broken down by the most important terms, the actual sub phrases, the brands that you offer, and any other assets that fall under that page. Once we go through those that terminology, we actually build our structures for the keywords from that. And I know that kind of goes forward a little bit, but that is how we focus. And, it is identifying and analyzing the words and phrases people use when searching for information in products, services online. um
Yeah.
your target audience is searching for specific things that you're going to offer them, and you want to make sure that you're in the place for that, because there are a lot of people who have very large budgets in the paid advertising arena, and they can actually put themselves out there even without optimizing for a lot of things. So you want to make sure that your optimization is on point for everything on each of the pages of your website.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
You're not alone out there in terms of taking up that space when somebody does get their search results.
that is correct.
Um, yeah, so just this is something for the audience, but really just, thinking through, what do you sell? Like in very clear terms. That should be on your homepage. What questions do your prospects ask? We know because we've been working with builders and modular home builders, but what's the difference between a modular home and a stick built or traditional home? Like that tends to be a big question. People have a lot of questions, by the way, if you are a modular builder. Education is so important because there are a lot of misconceptions. But the nice thing for SEO is people have these questions like, can you have a basement if you're a modular home? I mean, these are truly things that people are searching on. And you, through your blogging, which we'll get into a little bit, you can be there. You can be one of the great resources to answer those questions. Another exercise is go take a look at your competition, see what they have out there. And I think this is all, I mean, this is just good business practice, but it also can just help you make sure you're thinking it through in a thorough way. You're not missing anything. Also, just a few notes. You really need to set up a Google account if you don't have one. It's free, so that's the good news. And this is where you can get your analytics to measure your traffic, which we'll get into later. But you also can have access to a free keyword planner. You can discover, new keywords. So maybe you put in you're a modular home builder. And then what happens is you will get a screen that looks like this, which will give you all kinds of other ideas for keywords and actually show you how many searches there are per month, what the competition is. This is in the paid arena because people, if you're doing paid pay per click, then they are bidding on these keywords, right? But it's also helpful for SEO because it gives you an idea of what words people are actually searching for. Okay, so Tom, we've worked with a number of builders, modular manufacturers, and modular home builders. Can you shed some light on, the do's and don'ts, if you will? What are some of the top keywords? What are some things to stay away from? I know we've talked about just broad
Yeah,
terms like real estate, like
right.
why doesn't
You
that work?
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you want to kind of stay away from different terms that are very broad in general. So if someone's typing in terms like real estate, homes near me, it's gonna bring up stuff like Movado, homes.com, that type of stuff. You want to really focus on what the product is. The builder keywords are completely different than terms like real estate. I always tend to stay away from those types of terms. Some of the biggest terms we've seen are actually modular home builders near me, modular home plans. So people are actually searching for plans of what some of the layouts are on there, and we found this through not only the SEO, through the PPC advertising as well. It's allowed us to strategize and expand the keyword base for them. So that's why we work with a client right now currently. And one of the things I learned from them is there were so many people looking for duplex, triplex with the specifics of the modular home attached to it. So it was really interesting to see colonial modular homes. People are actually searching that stuff. So those specific types of phrases are going to be very effective for you if you have placement on your site for that. I'm assuming most builders would have, like, if they have different types of homes, they're going to have those broken down on their website. And having their own information for each of those areas are going to be critical. A lot of people I notice will throw everything onto a page too as well. It's probably not the best way to go about pulling in as many keywords as you want, because now you're stuffing too many different types into one place when you could actually break them apart as well. So I think that's another great strategy that can fall into place for a lot of the builders. And Mary can get more specific into that when she talks to you about plans. Um,
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is too, just the idea of putting your location where if you do
yes,
operate like in certain towns or certain counties, even states, that if you optimize those pages with, we're in the Danbury, Connecticut area. So, home builder, Danbury, Connecticut, or modular home builder, Danbury, Connecticut. And, you don't want to, like, I would say just as a aside that you don't want to stuff keywords and like you don't want to create content that's not useful or seems awkward, but you can genuinely talk about the area and offer useful content and have keywords that show that location. So if somebody is searching for, home builder Danbury, Connecticut, your content will be found.
yes.
All right. Okay, so we're moving from kind of, broader to some of the more specific um, terms and concepts in SEO, and one of them are backlinks. Tom, can you please explain?
Yeah.
It is what
So
it sounds like, but it's a
yeah.
little more complicated than that.
So there's a bunch of different types of linking strategies that we use. One of them is internal within the site, which is like building a linking map. But some of the most important types of links are getting people to link back to your website. And how you generally do that naturally is by offering the end user great information. So if you have if someone has a great article based off of how to clean, stone counters, those types of things. And I'm just using this as an example. Um, you can actually put out information that is useful for the end user. And what eventually ends up happening is multiple companies will link right into the article. Then what happens is if there are follow tags on that, when Google crawls that other website, they see the link pointing back into your website. And if there is a follow tag, because there is two types of tags, there's no follow tag, which says Google, don't pour our link juice into this website, or there's a follow tag where Google will follow the link in and it will push that importance into your website and allow you to gain popularity. Think about it. If we had three websites and they were all identical, one was for me, one was for Mary, and one was for somebody else, and they were all identical. What makes one of our three the most important websites? Well, if Google's out crawling and there's nine links pointing back to my website and only two pointing back to Mary's website, depending on content and all of the other factors, they may choose to use me first based off the fact that I have more popularity coming into the site. And that has to do with something called domain authority and page authority. So those are other measurements that are built over time for long-term popularity on the web. Very, very important factor. So there are some different ways of doing this without being too confusing. I won't talk too much about the follows and the do follows and the no follows, but also remember just having links coming back to you are important, even if it's a no follow. Because if you have a manufacturer or something like that, that would be very, very important for you to get a link back from them, because that will give you, as their clients crawl their site, that will also bring more traffic in. So your link can also bring traffic in from other places, even if it's a no follow tag, based off the fact that your link is sitting on an important page on someone else's website. So
And
there's a lot of
why
different things.
would somebody not have a no follow tag? Like, let's say you had like
It
the New
really
York
depends
Times
on
or
what you're doing.
like they,
So
let's say
that's where the
they had a link, like they obviously would have a huge domain authority because they are, you know,
correct.
yeah,
So
a huge website.
they have by default have millions and millions and millions of links pointing to them. And one of the things that Google will look at them as is not to point out do follow links from a site of that magnitude, for the simple fact that bigger sites like that generally carry a lot of weight. And to keep things balanced and fair for everyone, they will look at a site like that with a 90 domain authority. That if you're pointing back to some, to a small home builder, it might look a little weird. So there
Yeah,
there are certain criterias and certain methodologies that you do follow when it comes to linking, and getting good links. But if you were to get a link from that site, I can guarantee you'd have thousands
yeah,
and thousands of visits come back to your website, and that signal will trigger the search engine to look at your site as more of an authoritative site as well for that time. So
right.
there's a lot on both ends, but linking is a very, very important structure for most home builders.
And it also is, a reason to do some PR, frankly, if you can get coverage from even some of your local patch or, and something like a local patch might be fine. They would not put a no follow tag on there. And, really trying to get your name and your website link out. You know, it is just something to think about. I don't want to get too off topic, but we've also seen that where companies will get some coverage and that helps their website.
Yeah, the do follow tag on does happen on the patch site, and that's a very helpful place if you can ever get one. So
Yeah, yeah, get some coverage.
yes.
Okay, so let's talk about tagging, specifically meta and other tags. What's a meta tag?
Okay, yeah. So basically, if you, as you look here, a meta tag is a snippet of content that tells the search engine what is on the page. The title tag is the most important tag and holds the most weight. The reason that is because when anytime if you ever go to the top of your browser, right at the top, and you run your mouse, you can actually see the title expand out. And the reason is that is the first thing that a search engine hits when they go onto the website. No matter what page it is on your website, that is the most important tag because it's the first thing that the search engine looks at. Then
Yeah.
you have
By the
some,
way, there is a screenshot on the lower, left of the slide that kind of just shows you we hovered over that, and that's what you see for their tag.
but one of the most important things to also understand is you're limited by characters in your title tag. And that's why I was talking about breaking your services apart or breaking your styles of houses apart, because we can only get so many of those in there. You can't have a title tag that runs on and on forever. It's somewhere around 65 characters. So you are limited, because otherwise they'll go past that. And then you're at in your search result, even if you show highly, your the way you look on the SERP, which is a search engine ranking page, it may look off because you've run the tag off the page. So you never want to do that. It looks like it's diluted in there. So you always want to stick to Google best practices when doing this. So that's pretty much it with the title tag. Now the second tag that is extremely important is the meta description tag. Now, understand this, that goes for about 120 characters or so, and it talks about what's on the page. It's not visible in the content on the page, but it does, even though there's no SEO value to it, there actually is, because that tag will get displayed on the SERP, which is a search engine ranking page. So when you're looking at Google, that actual information that comes off of the meta description tag will still show on Google's page if they find the information important to show the end user. So it's still a really important tag, even though it doesn't weigh on the SEO of what's on the page. It's how it is one of the tags that helps display your page. So you want it to be pristine. You want it to look very, very good. And that will allow, and as long as you follow Google guidelines,
Right.
you will display properly. And that is a very, very important thing to know about.
And
So
it sounds like there's some other tags too. There's
yes, there
image
are.
alt tags.
Yep.
Can you
H
just share what those are briefly?
Yeah, your H1 and your H2 are different placement points in the on the page generally, and they are visible. And generally within those tags, we always want to have the most important keywords focused, and then we always want to have great image alt tags. We want to name your tags on the images because it allows Google. That's how you show up in Google search, image search really well. So if you do have a certain type of home that you're selling, that's really important. Like let's say it's a colonial house and let's say it's a modular home, you would put, colonial modular. And if there's a model number or a tag type, we would add that in there as well. And then if someone ever searches for that automatically, we can show up right in the right in the image search because you're going to get, because they're homes, a lot of people search images. So you want to be on top of that as well. So that's another great angle to take your SEO into. So making sure that all of these tags are filled out properly is very important. There's a lot of places that do not do that, or they use all types of duplication, which is not how you want to focus on your tagging structures when it comes to your images. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. And home building is obviously super visual. So we've talked about this before, but you want to have good photography, very clear, and that's what people are looking for. I think everyone just loves looking at beautiful homes, right? So that kind of makes just good common sense.
yep, absolutely.
All right, let's take a second to talk about blogging. I think there's an SEO reason for blogging, and then there are other reasons, but let's first tackle why blogging is important when you're talking about SEO. Tom, if you tackle that.
Yep. Fresh information. Google loves. Think about it. If there's a bunch of websites out and one of them is sending signals by putting out more and more fresh information, guess what? Google's gonna they're now different back in the day, a few years back, you'd have to wait for Google to crawl your site. Now they crawl it instantaneously. So when that blog goes up and it's there, they see that there's fresh information out there. And if there's something real, and if you have a very powerful site, and that blog is very relevant, that blog is going to be seen by many, many people. And that's another way to attract links into the website. So you can use blogs for that. And one of the other things we're seeing more and more now is you can actually become an importance in AI, where sometimes you're now going to see at the top of Google that AI reasoning or that AI description, and it might be your site. And it's already happened to many of our clients um,
Yeah,
already. So,
yeah, we've seen it. They're pulling the content from the blog as,
right, because
the
it's important.
authority, the authority.
That
Yeah,
is,
and I would also just say like blogging, especially I think home building in general, but modular, as we mentioned before, there are so many questions about it. There's, you can also use it to share your featured homes. There's just ways you can talk about yourself, but in an informative, productive way. And we have also seen where a blog post can, right after the homepage be the second biggest source of traffic.
mhm,
And that could go on for months. So, it's not a huge investment to have a blog post written. And, if you use a WordPress website, every WordPress website comes with a blog. So it's not going to require a lot of coding or anything to get that content up. And it really is important for SEO. It's important for education, and it's just important as, a very nice informative part of your website.
one last thing. I just want to make this point.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of businesses always want to try and make their blogs promotional. Blogs are not for promotional purposes. You can put your hook at
Right.
the end, but you want your blog to be informational because if you give people information and it's not going to be helpful for them, why would they want to waste their time reading it? And you
Yeah.
got to catch the attention of people a lot faster now because there's so much information going on the regular basis. And yes, your blog can end up, and I'm going to move over to a different industry. We work with a company that does autism, and they actually put out a very important blog in reference to a specific type of childhood training. And that blog, now that site averages about 250 to 500 visits a month. That blog ended up getting 2 to 3 thousand visits a day, and it had so many links pointing back to it. It blew the website up, and it blew all the other rankings up in the website along with it. So it allowed us to push that website even further. So they're enjoying about 400% more traffic off the homepage, the internal pages in those areas. So blogs can be a very powerful tool for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. All right. So, let's get into measuring success. Um, I just want to mention again, like there's different tools from Google and they're free. So if you don't have a Google Analytics account, you should sign up. Obviously, you need a website for it, but you should start tracking your traffic because, first of all, you should want to know where your traffic is coming from. The good news is, you sign up, it's free. Any developer should be able to paste the code onto your website. There's even YouTube videos out there that show you how to do it if you're brave enough, and certainly any digital agency can do it. But that's the link. So please, make sure you have your Google Analytics set up. And then once you have it set up, and again, SEO can take some time to really kick in, but then, you should be able to measure that traffic. And, that's something that, we do with all of our clients is we share the traffic results and we show them where their traffic is coming from and then some of the stats Tom talked about.
Yes. So the great thing about Google Analytics is you can break it down into channels. You can see what's coming in direct, socially, organically, paid search ad, whatever it is. You can break it down by search engine. Everything can be broken down very easily, and it really gives you the end use. And that's where you set up your conversion tracking, and you can see where your actual conversions are coming from too. So you might do email marketing. You can see if there's any conversions. You can see phone number, who's doing the click to call on their cell phone to you. All that stuff is available if set up properly in analytics. It is a critical tool to use in this day and age, and it gives us all of the keys to the answers. So we know that if this page is underperforming and it's not working well, we can go in there and make changes to that page based off of the information that comes out of analytics. So without analytics, there's no way to run it successfully. So it is critical to have that on there. And there's many other fantastic Google tools, and as long as they're WordPress sites, we can set those up for you without problem.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's great because
Yep.
Google wants you to use this because obviously they make more money when they're able to advertise. And if, as people start to realize all the different ways you can drive traffic to your website, it's in their interest. And it's also in your interest because you want to know these are important statistics if you've invested in a website. And also, we can tell you that this is a real source of leads and traffic. So, traffic is about building awareness. If you set up your website properly and somebody's ready, then as Tom says, you will have a conversion. They'll fill out a web form, or you have something called click to call where you can click on it. I mean, all of that is 100% measurable in Google Analytics. So, um, well, that's it for our 10 questions. But we want to just end by, would you like some help? Would you like us to potentially take a look at what you're doing? We offer a free, website and online marketing review. You don't have to work with us necessarily. We are more than happy to have a half hour phone call with you. We'll take a look at your website. We'll look at how visible you are online. We'll look at your competition. How do they look online? Tom has a bunch of tools that, he can run some estimates and actually usually see, right, Tom?
Yes.
What is going on, how they're ranking, if they're running their campaigns properly or not, which is often the case. We'll take a look at your social media presence if you have one, and we'll take a look at your website and see if there's any, things we would do differently. You can scan the QR code. You can reach us. I've put my email here. Um, Tom and I on these traffic reviews, we would have a joint call with you, and we're more than happy to do this again. We really just like being part of the community and helping home builders and modular home builders, and there's no pressure at all. If you do want to work with us, that's great. But if you don't, we're also happy to have a quick call with you. And I think that's it for our Q&A today. I hope you'll join us next month. And we are going to stay on. If you have some additional questions, you can put them in the chat. We'll stay on for a few more minutes. And you can also email us if you have some specific questions. But I also really want to just thank everybody for coming. Please follow us on social media. I mentioned to you, Builder Lead Marketing is a new brand for us. So we are also trying to build up, our network. And we will be posting when our next monthly webinar is. I also just want to thank the Modular Home Builders Association for helping us get the word out. We really, really appreciate it. And, again, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you. And please, again, if you have questions, stay